If you follow the philosophical and literary side of the internet, you have definitely heard the name of Franz Kafka, the man consumed by depression who decided to write books on the sad and depressing aspect of humanity and society that people are too afraid to talk about. Many people simply think he's too cynical, but is that really true? And if it is the truth, then why does he look at life from this perspective? Today, these questions will be answered with the detailed analysis of Franz Kafka's life, work, and philosophy. Chronicles of Past. Franz Kafka was born on the 3rd of July 1883 in Prague. His father was a self-made businessman and due to that, a very authoritative figure, and he expected the same from his son. But Franz was a very shy boy and couldn't talk with the same level of authority and charm his father could. Thus, the father and son became distant. This was a big point as Kafka thought of himself as someone who was not good enough. This started his sense of inferiority. Even though he was pretty shy and small in size and physique, he had the mind of a brilliant man, and he enrolled in Charles University of Prague and started studying chemistry. But even after that, his father wasn't essentially happy with his decision to choose chemistry, as he thought he should study law and continue the family business, and young Franz Kafka, who was a child hungry for his father's validation, changed his subject to law. After becoming a lawyer, he started his usual law work, but he surely wasn't happy with his decision to waste his dream by becoming a lawyer for his father's approval. He worked his usual day, and in the evening, he sat down and started writing. It was the greatest coping mechanisms he developed, as he at least felt alive while writing. In 1912, he sat down and started writing what is said to be his greatest work. A story about a normal man who suddenly on one night goes to sleep and wakes up to find himself transformed into a bug. The power within the pen. As many people know, Metamorphosis is his most famous work and the piece of literature he is known for. A story about a man turning into a bug isn't even about body horror or anything remotely close to that. No, it's about how people are looked at by the society and people around them. When the character turns into a bug, his first thought isn't even about how he suddenly became a bug, but instead about him being late to work. Metamorphosis isn't about human body or bugs. It's about how people in the modern world are replaceable, and how people are only cared about when they're useful, and when they cease to be of use, they become a liability to other people. Not a human, but something to replace or forget about. Even in Metamorphosis, the family members of the main character start hating him because he's not something they or the world wants him to be. After he made another book named The Trial, his way of writing had gotten its own name, Kafkaesque. The Trial is about a man who's suddenly arrested even though he did absolutely nothing illegal, and the protagonist is unable to make sense of the arrest, the jurisdiction, and the accusation. It's about a person trying to fight the system which won't reveal its rules and any way to win. The trial has rules, laws, and authority, but the power of understanding is only given to the ones sitting in power. It's about how people feel judged without it making any sense or without knowing why. How some people are just given authority and power in life without any reasonable explanation, and people just live with it. Our protagonist Joseph K. in the start is pretty confident against the court, but he starts to change. He starts to question himself, and the feeling of judge takes over him. It's not about the legal system, but about human experience, and every kind of system supports this experience of being judged by people in power. Another masterpiece delivered by Kafka is The Castle, which is about a man who's summoned to work in a castle, but when he arrives, he figures out that he's not invited to the village at all. This confuses him, and the entire book is about him trying to find a way inside the castle and to understand why he was even called in the first place. Unfortunately, it was left unfinished because of Kafka's death, and so we don't truly know what it meant, but there are many ways to interpret the book. One of the interpretations is that it's about bureaucratic negligence, as the authority in work is like a maze which never ends and only goes from one level to another. Philosophy. From Kafka's stories, we can figure out many common themes present in all of them, as if he was trying to communicate these exact things through his stories. One common theme is guilt. His characters don't know why they feel guilty for something they haven't even done, but they are made to feel guilty by the surroundings. Another big theme with his characters is that they are different, disconnected from society, meaning, or their own people. They are still the same as everyone else deep within, but they feel foreign, and that becomes the main tragedy. There's also problems arriving because of miscommunication between characters in his books, which parallel his own relation with his father, and how he couldn't communicate well with him. His stories portrayed authority and power as an inescapable maze, where people who are under those above are unable to live in the system, and are unable to even understand how it works, as authority isn't rational in Kafka's eyes. Kafka, even though not born in the modern times, predicted the totalitarianism which occurs in the 20th century. When it came to the meaning of life itself, Kafka's opinion was similar to absurdists, as he believed that the universe has no inherent meaning, and people are stuck in this loop of trying to find meaning and make sense of all this. Albert Camus has actually written about Kafka too in his book, The Myth of Sisyphus. Many people believe and categorize Kafka as existentialist, but that's a mistake. Kafka isn't hopeful like existentialists are. He's hopeless about the world and life. That makes him closest to a pessimistic absurdist and definitely not existentialist. His philosophy is inspired by his personal experiences and his life, and since the start he has had his dreams shattered and broken every time he was hopeful about something. That made him someone far different from existentialists, far different from someone who hopes. My views. If you ask me what I personally think about Kafka, my answer would be just, I understand. I understand his philosophy and why he thinks this way. To be honest, I think he's right, and he has pinpointed the exact problems of society everyone is suffering from. But at the same time, I feel sad for him because of his utter hopelessness towards life. He's right about society, but he's so broken by it that he has become the perfect example of the rot in society creating self-hate. I think he's right about society. I think he's wrong for the self-hate, and I feel sad for his outlook on life as he couldn't live the good parts of it.